Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about creating our craft, our art, our dance, and particularly how we can show up when sharing it with the world. Hello and welcome, you wonderful sensual being. I hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode. This one is going to be for anybody who likes to create, who does any sort of craft, if you're an artist, a content creator, anything like that. This one is for you. We are also going to be linking in how you create things and how when you put them out into the world, what happens to them and what happens to your psyche when this is happening, like when we're putting things out into the world, because we can be extremely vulnerable. And when we create from a place of vulnerability, like for example, all the sad songs you hear, all those lyrics were more than likely birthed in times of crisis, in times of upset. Now, when you put things like that into the world, you can feel extremely vulnerable. I'm not saying that all craft and artistry comes from those points, but that's just an example of vulnerability in what I'm talking about. When you create stuff and put it out there, you have to be creating for you. There is no other reason you need to be creating, because it fills you up. It lights you up. You feel that spark, that waking up at 4:00 in the morning and thinking, I've just got to go and do this, or I'm thinking about this, I'm going to write this down, whatever it is. You need to be creating for yourself first, because if you're creating to try and get likes and followers and things like that, it won't be birthed from a place of authenticity. So to be placing your creations out there, you need to make sure they are coming from your heart, they are coming from your soul, your calling. This is what people talk about when they talk about their calling. This is the type of thing that they mean, is that passion, that drive, that is what you want to be riding on. And it doesn't matter what people think about it once it's gone out into the world. Don't think about that whilst you're creating, because it won't help you. You need to find that calling and just act on that and let go of anything else outward, any sort of validation. Just let all of that go so that you can create. And remember, far more people regret not creating something than they do actually creating it. So try not to really hold on to not doing something because you're worried about feedback, what people might say. You will regret that. Okay, you will regret not creating. And you know what? When you create something, you don't even have to share it if you don't want to. Yeah, you hold that power with your own creations. Nobody else does. You do. So when we talk about creating things, we need to try and stay authentic about who we are and what we are trying to create. When it comes to actually sharing this stuff, probably online, or maybe you put a book out into the world, or you release songs. When you put stuff out there, it is vulnerable and you cannot escape that. So when you're sharing online, there's a lot of people who believe that you should be sharing the most authentic parts of yourself. Now, I agree with that, and I also disagree with that. And you need to find your own balance, because when we share stuff, if I was to tell you I share my life online, to be honest, really what you would expect to see is me getting up in the morning, me putting on my socks, me eating breakfast. That is sharing your life. And I'm not saying that people don't do that, but that doesn't need to be how you share and show up when you do this online. Think about it like this. Share your personality. Sharing your personality means that you're not sharing every single minute detail of your life, because I'm sorry, who's got time for that? We are all living such busy lives, but we can still connect with people being authentically themselves when we see their personalities. So when we see how they deal with things, maybe we do get tidbits of what's actually happening in their day, but you don't need to think about sharing your whole life. There are people out there that do this. And I think when you do this, you lose what you're doing, while you're doing it. And everything becomes for the gram. If I hear that one more time in my pole classes, I've got to get something for the gram. Seriously, no you don't. You need to get it for you. For you first. Always for you first. Can't stress that enough. So think of it as sharing your personality rather than sharing your life. And when you create stuff, and particularly when you put it out into the world, you need to trust the process. You need to tell yourself that. You need to write it down and see it every day. Trust the process. Now, when you read a book, so a book's gone out there into the world. I know that there are some that seem to be a bestseller on their first week. That is not something to be striving for, because that will not help you create. That will create fear. When you are creating your craft, you will create fear, because you'll be thinking, oh my God, it's got to do this, it's got to do that. It doesn't. The whole reason why you're creating is because you enjoy it. It's your passion, it's your love, it's your soul's purpose, it's your spark. And a question for you. How many times, you're probably going to say, oh, I don't read much. How many times when you read a book, do you go to the author and say, thank you? How many times when you listen to a new song by an artist that you like, do you go to that artist and say, thank you? I bet it really isn't nearly half of, it's not even half as many times as you actually doing those things that you have said thank you to that person creating it. Now, for example, this podcast has gone out and I can see the amount of people who have regularly downloaded, listened to stuff. Some people have actually come to me and said their comments, their remarks, their feedback, maybe even a thank you. But it's very rare in comparison to how many people actually do tap in. So next time you are thinking, when you're putting stuff out, don't worry that you are feeling like it's not being validated, because like I say, there's so many books I read, and now I'm feeling guilty as I say this, because I haven't gone to every single author and said thank you. Because if I did that, oh my God, if I wrote a book and put it out there, I would feel so alone. People might be reading it, they might not be reading it, and I might not be finding out. This is where you have to trust the process. You have to remember why you were doing something. Because when you flip it around and realise how many people have impacted your life and you've never said thank you because you don't know them. You don't know them. Maybe you don't even know how to get in touch with them. Maybe you could send them a message, but who knows if it'd ever get through, particularly if they're an artist, $1 billion artist or something. How do you contact them to say thank you? So all these content creators, however big or small they are in what they do, they have to trust the process, and so do you. We have to trust the process. And you can find sometimes that you can be overstimulated by other content creators as well. So sometimes you've kind of got to block them out in the nicest possible way. You need to block them out to be able to create and work your own magic, because you don't want to be looking at what somebody else does and think, oh, I wonder if I can do a similar program to that. I wonder if I can do a similar class to that. You want to be tapping in to what you do. And it's a bit like with my circles that I do, my Ring of the Enchantress that I hold. I have to try and come away from how other people do circles, because I feel like mine doesn't really fit what other people do. And I don't want to try and make it fit. I just want to do my thing. And if people like it, they'll come. And if they don't like it, they won't come back. And that's okay, because we're not meant to be right for everybody else. But I have found that, I've talked about this before on the podcast, I believe that you can have too much inspiration and it paralyzes you rather than motivates you. And currently, at the time that I'm recording this now for you, I have currently deleted everybody that I was following off my Jolene Central Being account on Instagram. And it's not their fault, and I unfollowed everybody with a lot of love, and I will be following people back again soon. I may have already done it by the time this one comes out. But I was finding that I was getting, whilst these people are close to me and I respect their work and I love their work, and at times I can be inspired by their work, and it almost gives me permission to do my work. I don't know why we need permission, but we do sometimes. Our little brains work weird like that. But I have found that I have been like paralyzed in my own thoughts and content creation because I have been looking at them, and comparison sneaks in. So I work very hard with my social media process to actually try and not let that happen. But it isn't just as simple as not letting it happen. Sometimes we have to take steps. Now, if you decide to unfollow everybody that you follow, it's going to make you feel weird. Do you know what the first thought was after I had done that? I thought, oh, I feel a bit on my own. I feel a bit lonely. I was sort of going on to there, and I wasn't seeing anybody to follow, like anyone to look at their stories and check in with people like that. I purposely have searched for people and looked at what they're doing. That's fine, but it's just not been there as soon as I've gone into it. And it does feel quite lonely. It took me a few days to get used to just not having anyone there. It's a very lonely feeling, but also I have found that it's changed my habits with when I've gone on there. I've literally just gone on to post and then I've left. And actually that was what was more important to me to do, because a good friend of mine, we've been chatting about this recently, and she went down the route very recently of actually just deleting the app from her phone. And she's a big content creator as well. But she decided, rather than do what I'm doing, she deleted the app from her phone. But that means that she hasn't been putting anything out there. But that's what she needed to do. And when you're in spaces, particularly like spiritual content creating, I do kind of feel like you need to go a bit inward sometimes. And it really helps to be able to do that, to then come out the other side. And with me, I was trying. I prefer not deleting the apps, because I feel like when I try and log back on, it's a nightmare. So I prefer not doing that. So this was a very new way of me to get that space. But I also managed just to keep on doing my like little regular updates. But to be fair, I would argue that I haven't actually been on there that much, and I haven't shared loads. But when I have shared, it's felt like it's come from a place from my heart, rather than thinking, oh, everybody else has been putting up stuff lately, I should be putting up stuff too. I feel like it's not come from that place. So that's been very interesting from it. I feel like a lot of time we want instant gratification, and like it's very common to think, oh, well, I'll produce this and maybe it will go viral. That word, viral, ugh. Why does something have to go viral? Some things can be like a slow burn. They can progress. It's like a book when it first comes out, probably isn't going to be a bestseller, but it might grow. And the sales and reprinting over the years, it could just grow. Things aren't there straight away. And when you buy a new book, do you read it straight away? The chances are probably not. You probably are going to put it on your shelf and think, I'm going to read that when I'm ready. And then when you're ready, you read it. Again, it's that slow burn. It's not the instant gratification, but we seem to want that in our lives. And we see these like reels and videos going viral on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and it goes everywhere. And you're like, that could be me. And it's like, why? Why does that need to be you? Your stuff does not need to go viral to make a difference. Yeah? And that is the important thing. When you're creating stuff with love, it doesn't need to go viral. And to be honest, when you see the comments on these things that have gone viral, some of the comments are just horrible. Like people who do have like really big accounts, really big followings, sometimes they have to deal with quite a lot of backlash in comments. And you kind of think, I don't know if that's worth it, actually. I quite like my little following of people who interact with me and who are kind to me. And I like that. Not gonna lie, I like that. So it's checking in with yourself to realise why you want certain things. So trying to let go of your stats. So trying to let go of putting something up and then going back and checking, seeing who's liked it, who said something, why hasn't it been liked yet, and things like that. This constant check-in is helping us get into this routine and habit of always picking up our phone, even if we don't realize who picked it up. Picking it up and checking the stats, checking this, checking that. No, let it go. Let it go. Whatever it is, just put up a new video. Let it go out into the world. Let it do its magic. You've done yours. Now let it do their magic, and that's it. And that's all you need to do. But trying to actually keep yourself in check is actually quite hard. But the more you can do this, the more you can let out your weirdness, your own unique way, your gifts into the world. If you actually let go of the gratification side, the trying to get the validation of what you're doing, you want to let that go. And to remember your why you were doing something, why you were creating stuff. And if you've used the words, I need something for the gram, you need to remember your why more than anybody else. Because remembering your why is remembering why you love something. And if you realize that has changed, and maybe you don't love something anymore. Maybe you are like, oh, I was just doing it for the gram, for TikTok. Or, oh, actually, do you know what? I don't like it anymore. Or maybe you first time looking at this and thinking, I only ever did that because I thought it would do this for my account. And actually, I don't like it. Reassess. You are a multifaceted human being. You can change who you are. You don't have to do the same thing over and over again. If it's not lighting you up, you actually have a choice. You have a choice. And I find when we turn off distractions like TV, gaming, social media, we get early nights, we don't turn to drinking, even if it's social drinking. I swear, since I've stopped drinking, I've not drunk anything for over a year. And my health has gone right up. It is phenomenal. That tied together with grounding is incredible. And the coming away from news and coming away from the TV, coming away from radio, I don't know if it's the adverts, the fear mongering on the news, the frequency that everything's set to. It's changed my life, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing this. But when you do that, your creativity gets sparked. And when you go out into nature as well, whatever that is, even if you just go outside and look up at the sky, it doesn't matter what the sky is doing. It could be overcast, it could be cloudy, it could be stormy, it could be bright sunshine, blue sky, Simpson clouds, you know, the real fluffy ones with the blue sky behind it. And just look up at the sky. That is connection to nature. It might be putting your feet on the earth. It might be actually going for a walk or a run or a cycle in nature. And when you do that, your creative energy will go overload. Because TV does not make you creative. Gaming does not make you creative. It numbs the creative part of your brain. But you go outside and connect, you suddenly you feel that primal energy within you, and your libido goes up as well, which, come on, that's awesome. Who doesn't love a bit of that? It really does help. And if you find that you're feeling blocked in what you want to create, then you want to try and move your body, even if it's just walking, even if you shake your body out or having a bit of a dance. It doesn't have to be for very long, but that will get you out of your head and into your body. The same as if you're feeling anxious about anything, not just creating anything or doing your art or craft or dance. But if you feel anxious, move your body. The quickest thing to do to help try and shift some anxiety is to shake your body out. And try using your voice. Like whether it's singing, shouting, or just make weird noises. It doesn't matter, but allow that to actually happen. And you'll find that your throat chakra will be clearer and you'll be able to articulate yourself much better, even to yourself, even with your own thoughts when you talk to yourself. And also, particularly if you're feeling anxious or blocked with anything, creating stuff with your hands. Now, when I say create stuff with your hands, it doesn't need to be something that you're necessarily going to finish or anything like that, but just create with your hands or do gardening, things that are quite grounded, and using your bare hands as much as possible will really help you stay in your body and not in your head. And even if you think, yeah, but I'm an author, I need to create, I need to use my head, you actually don't. You really don't. Because when have you noticed that when you're really in that zone and you're creating, it feels like a flow state? The way to get into a flow state, if you feel blocked, is to move your body. Because when you do that, it's a bit like, do you ever have your best thoughts in the shower? Because you're moving your body and all distractions are pretty much gone, because you can't watch TV easily. You can't look at your phone when you're in the shower. So your mind is free to flow, and that is what you want to be able to create. I'm not saying take your laptop in the shower and write your next book in there. I'm not saying that, but have a shower first and then go and try and sit down and create stuff. Because the more we can stay out of our head and into the body, the more we will create stuff that is from our heart. It's from our soul. It's our soul's purpose. You'll feel your calling. You'll feel like you are in line with the universe and your own life. And that is just pure magic. I hope you've taken lots of goodies from this. It's really helped me, to be honest, talking about this with you. So I actually really appreciate you listening to this episode. It's one of those episodes that's actually really hit home and helped me. So thank you so much for being there for me. I really appreciate you. As always, remember to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.